we are now heading into our Futures Island. Heisman Trophy futures are here, and we've got a shakeup. A new rundown every week. Things are changing, things are shifting as the college football season progresses. So this is how it currently stands. We've got CJ Stroud, quarterback at Ohio State. He is in the first spot at plus 150, followed by Bryce Young at Alabama, plus 200. Kenneth Walker III at Michigan State, plus 450. Matt Corral, Ole Miss, plus 750. And Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh, plus 400. What do you see here, Archie? Give us your thoughts.
Well, first I would like to say RIP to my Caleb Williams bet when I got him plus 5,000, and then he got all the way up to plus 750, and I thought, here we go. Okay, the movement's happening. And then Lincoln Riley decides to pull him in the game against Baylor, and you thought, okay, good, you're killing my Heisman hope. So, okay, that's definitely not going to happen. That's called wasted money. Throw it away. Thanks, y'all. I do notice that there's a shakeup at the top, that CJ Stroud is the new leader right now. Bryce Young had been out for the last several weeks, but CJ Stroud just keeps putting up numbers upon numbers upon numbers, and Bryce Young, even though he hasn't necessarily struggled the entirety of these last few weeks, his team has, and he has also had less than stellar games. Not so much against New Mexico State, because that's not really a game you pay attention to last week when he barely played over a half. But you talk about the LSU game from the week before, in which LSU did a great job of bottlenecking that offense that's been so high octane for the Crimson Tide. So I do notice that the shakeup there at the top is what I find most fascinating, because Alabama still has big games coming up on their schedule. So does Ohio State. And both of those teams include conference championship type games. So I think we're down to our two finalists that are going to be what the two we're going to choose from when it comes to the ceremony in New York at the beginning of December. I think that's just where we've gotten to. If you look at Kenneth Walker, it's great. He's had a great season at Michigan State, but I don't think unless you're spectacular, and he's been very good, but he's not having overwhelming numbers, that he's going to be able to sort of take that from those two guys' spots. It's kind of turned into a quarterback award. Unless you go for 2,000-plus yards and a whole bunch of crazy touchdowns, it's going to be difficult for you to overtake that. I do find it interesting that Matt Corral's gotten back into it thanks to a big win against Texas A&M last week. He was
back in the mix.
Yeah, not quite off the board. I think he went down to like plus 4,000 or plus 3,000 last week. He's now up to plus 750 again. They still have a couple of important games on their schedule too. And again, you don't have to win the championship to necessarily win the Heisman. He has been in a whole bunch of high-profile games himself. So I think it's a three-quarterback race. I think Matt Corral's got a chance to put himself in the invitation list or on the invite list to New York. But I think it's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And even though those are short numbers to get him at, I mean, you could probably get decent enough okay numbers when it comes to the second Saturday in December to make the pick anyway, because there's not a whole lot of value outside of that. Unless you really think Matt Corral can go nuts, and you really think Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud sort of come back to earth, which I don't think they are. But I think our top two are set in stone, and it's going to be one of those two guys that wins the Heisman. Okay,
quick question for you. Why isn't Kenny Pickett higher when he has the best numbers out of all of these guys? Over 3,500 yards, 32 touchdowns. He's got like an 83.9% QBR rating. It's because he plays for Pittsburgh and not in Ohio State and Alabama?
I think that's a big part of it, but also like they had a really unfortunate loss a couple of weeks ago. Remember, Kenny Pickett was way up there on this list. And again, he's in the top 5 of this list, so it's not nothing that he's at right now. It's just these are just the betting lines, and he could win the Heisman. He's got tremendous numbers to back up his season. It's just that the league, the ACC, is seen as a lesser league this season. It's that team Pittsburgh isn't quite the sexiest team in all of football right now to sort of pay attention to. And as far as big wins, like wins that put him on the national map, he doesn't really have any of them, to be honest with you. People always like to talk about a Heisman moment. There's not really one. Like we were conservative on Kenny Pickett and Pittsburgh until they finally got past Clemson when they did. And then they lose a couple of weeks later, and you sort of lose that sort of love for what you had with Kenny Pickett because they lost to North Carolina it was 2 weeks ago. So I mean, I don't think, well, not North Carolina, Wake, who was a couple weeks ago. So I don't know. I don't think that his numbers don't say you should think that he's good enough to win the Heisman. I just think that we've had two guys sort of lead the pack for such a long time, and they haven't really come back to earth. It's kind of hard to overcome those odds. And again, it's also a national media award. It's a lot of people who you think are going to vote one way or the other. It's not just who was the best overall player. It's who's the best overall player that people vote on.
Yeah, because Bryce Young has better numbers than CJ Stroud, yet he's behind him. So we'll see how those numbers shift throughout the next couple of weeks. But, Arky, who's your pick as of right now?
It's a tough. That is a tough one. I'm going to say CJ Stroud right now. Right now. Now, talk to me after this week. That could definitely change to Bryce Young again. But I do think it's going to be one of those two guys. I think right now CJ Stroud has the primrose path to get to the Heisman Trophy.
All right. We shall see. Stay tuned.